have grown a single blueberry. I will pick it. And it's a good day for thimbleberries. Don't mind if I do. Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. So, once people learn that purposeful caloric restriction causes basal metabolic rate to crash and primes the body to gain fat, the most common question I get is, I don't want to accidentally restrict my calories, so how many calories do I need to eat to make sure my BMR doesn't crash? Back in the day, I used to think that it was best to shoot for specific number targets because specificity is power. It eliminates confusion and it gets rid of that wiggle room that is so often exploited by diet culture informed eating disorders. When I first switched to an exclusively plant-based diet 11 years ago, I was aiming for 2,500 to 3,000 calories every single day, which is exactly what it felt like my body needed after so many years of restriction. And I was able to begin my weight loss journey at that calorie count. I finished my weight loss journey and I now usually consume anywhere from like 2,000 to 2,500 or more calories a day, but that number is just wildly variable on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, and I usually don't keep track. Anyway, shooting for a specific calorie range is an option that works really well for some people, but it doesn't work for everyone. Some people feel like completely overwhelmed, both mentally and digestively, by eating a larger volume of food than they're used to, and the idea becomes an unnecessary, unhelpful, uncomfortable burden. So, what to do? Research on plant-based diets and weight loss has found that ad libitum diets work best for both weight loss and long-term dietary satisfaction. Ad libitum is just science jargon for food is always available and you can always eat as much as you want. So basically, you can lose weight while eating as much as you want, as long as it is biologically appropriate food. As mentioned in the last video, on a diet based on whole plant foods, the body's appetite regulating mechanisms can function as they're supposed to because they're being exposed to real food that is rich in nutrients and fiber. It is virtually physically impossible to overeat whole foods without being extremely uncomfortable. Whole plant foods are just too bulky and nutritious. So the message in the research is, eat as much as you want. I like to tweak that message slightly by saying, don't deny your appetite. Some people transitioning to plant-based diets ask, I'm not sure if I'm eating enough. How do I know? My answer comes as a series of 3 questions. Number 1, when you feel hungry, do you eat? Yes? You're on the right track. No, I'm worried about gaining weight. That's appetite denial, and it indicates you're eating less than your body actually requires. Second question, if you feel hungry between meals, do you eat? Yes? You're on track. No, I'm worried about gaining weight. That's appetite denial, and it indicates that you're eating less than your body needs. Third question, if you've finished a meal and you're still hungry, do you eat more? Yes, you're right on track. No, I'm worried about gaining weight. That's appetite denial, and it indicates that you're eating less than your body needs. Which I feel like brings us to the question, what is appetite anyway? What is hunger? I've heard so much debate over the years about what hunger is. It's a hollow, gnawing feeling in the pit of your stomach. It's a weird, hollow pressure in the back of your throat. It's simply wanting food. So in my life, in order to determine real hunger, I like to distinguish between appetite and craving. Just an FYI, this is my personal view. I have no idea if it's supported by like official thought structures. So fair warning, disclosure done. Okay. Appetite, which is defined as a natural desire to satisfy a bodily need, especially for food, is my drive to eat. Sometimes it comes with physical sensations. Sometimes it doesn't. To me, it's simply an inner knowing that I want food or need food or would enjoy eating food. I find that my natural appetite doesn't necessarily care what I'm eating, it just wants to eat. And I never deny my appetite. Instead, I strive to sate it with as many pleasure-giving, nourishing whole plant foods as it requests. As mentioned, my appetite can be wildly variable depending on my activity levels, my cycle, whatever. I don't care. All I know is that I honor my appetite for whole plant foods, always. I never deny appetite. Then there's craving, defined as a powerful desire for something. I always approach craving with a healthy skepticism. For example, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is nothing in a donut that my body needs. Period. End of story. So, if my body is craving a donut, I know that my neurons are just talking trash because they've been hijacked by hyper-palatable, chemically engineered junk food. I've noticed that the only times I have intense cravings for unhealthy foods are times when I have been denying my appetite. Like if I go for a really long hike and forget to pack enough snacks, or like the time I spent 10 miserable hours stuck in a closet/airport in middle of nowhere, Wyoming. Sometimes though, I have very distinct cravings for black beans. Last week, I deeply desired plain, unseasoned brown rice, and I knew nothing else was going to satisfy that desire. If I go more than a few days without kale, it starts popping into my mind when I sit down to try to meditate. Last year, I started having distinct, intense cravings for cacao nibs. Not chocolate, not candy, cacao nibs, even though I hadn't even eaten them for years. Since all of these foods are very nutrient-dense whole plant foods, I 100% listen to those cravings and allow them to guide my meals. I've noticed that I can easily differentiate between real appetite and junk food-induced cravings by offering myself a simple, beloved whole plant food meal like a bowl of beans and rice with fresh salsa. If I'm genuinely hungry, if that is my real appetite, I'm gonna be stoked about eating that. If instead I think, no, I don't want that, I want an entire bag of hickory smoked barbecue potato chips, I can be quite confident that my MSG jonesing neurons have been wooed by those creepy, manipulative, salt, sugar, fat wizards over at the Lay's factory. You're not gonna get me today, Stanley. Not today. I'd like to think that we could stop here and the discussion would be done. But like everything in life, there is more nuance. First, dehydration triggers hunger. Sipping water throughout the day is a highly effective and simple way to help clarify appetite cues. Second, detoxing from processed foods is a controversial but generally accepted idea that acknowledges that if we're making big dietary changes, sometimes the body has a reaction to the new biochemical environment. It's temporary, but there can sometimes be weird, intense symptoms like nausea, headaches, big blood sugar swings, intense junk food cravings, and pretty massive fatigue. Standard Western conditioning has taught us to cover up these symptoms by eating, specifically by eating highly refined foods that are often rich in sugar and caffeine. So while making big dietary shifts, keep in mind that cravings and appetite can get a little wonky during the transition. This can be a good time to keep track of calories and nutrient intake to ensure that you're getting enough of what you need. Medical conditions and certain medications can also have a huge effect on appetite. So you'll need to have conversations with your doctor about the best way to proceed with these unique conditions. Additionally, eating food to soothe emotional upset as opposed to satiating physical hunger, also known as emotional eating, definitely exists. And it has influenced much about my lifelong relationship with food. And as such, it will be the subject of future videos in this series. And then, of course, on a related note, diet culture and eating disorder recovery contributes a lot of nuance that will be covered in depth in future videos. But for now, I will just say that I think of my diet culture directed eating disorder as a sub-personality that exists somewhere in my mind. I understand why she exists. She's a survival mechanism that I developed to help me cope with otherwise unbearable stress during my formative years. I have great love for her, but I set really clear boundaries with her. She is allowed to exist, but she does not get a seat at the decision-making table. Equally as important as identifying disordered eating thought patterns was getting comfortable with consciously experiencing the sensations in my body. Churning hunger went from being a dreadful challenge to further deny my appetite to something I could notice and respond to as a cue that my body craved nourishment. And with that awareness, the emotional charge began to fade. The feeling of having a full stomach became a sign that I had provided my body with the nourishment that it wanted as an act of self-love towards myself. And I slowly separated that full stomach sensation from the overwhelming disgust that it could often trigger. Through the practice of tuning into these bodily sensations, I got much more effective at identifying things like anxiety, fear, dread, shame, regret, hopelessness, and I learned how to meet those emotions and sit with the tumultuous bodily sensations that they often brought with them with a loving and resourced presence. And from that place, I could much more easily tease out triggers of my binge eating disorder from my real, true, authentic appetite that was just asking me for calories and nutrients so that my body can survive. All right, my friends, that'll be it for this discussion on appetite and calorie intake. I hope that this has helped to answer some of the questions that I saw on the last videos that I posted. Please feel free to leave more questions down below and I'll do my best to either answer them in the comments section or in future videos. For now, my body is really wanting this big, beautiful smoothie. It has hair on the bottom. Great. Always classy, Lily. Always classy. This guy has frozen peaches, pineapples, banana, kale, a little bit of turmeric, black pepper, and flax seeds. I'm gonna enjoy this and then I will check in with you guys for lunch. All right, it is lunchtime and I have some miso paste on my spoon and I'm just gonna mix it into some of this brown rice and red lentils that has a little bit of curry powder in it. Cooked it in the Instant Pot on the rice setting, and because I'm a classy lady, I'm gonna eat it right out of the pot. This is one of my go-to, like, super simple, super easy, super fast lunches for when I am generally in a bit of a rush. And since I had greens for breakfast, it works out. All right, you guys, so speaking of being in a rush, it has been like a very, very busy week. So I know for a fact that I'm not gonna be able to film my dinner tonight. I already pretty much know what I'm having. It's gonna be chickpeas, vegetables, and some kind of iteration of a starch, probably potato. So until next time, make better choices for yourself. No one is gonna do it for you, and take really, really, really good care. I'll see you all soon. Bye! Kale check. We're good. I like it. I think I look almost glamorous. Just the name of my new fragrance. You too can be almost glamorous. It's how I smell after I roll in my citronella plant.